Hello, and welcome to another episode. And what is this? Stuart, you sound awfully different.
That's right. My name is Stuart Colley. I am 22 years old, and I'm from Edinburgh. Hello.
Hi. What are you doing here, Stuart, with your new voice? What happened to you
You caught me out. My name's not Stuart Colley. My name's Rory Doherty.
Rory Doherty!
How's everyone doing? That's right. I replaced Stuart. And temporarily, Stuart is he's skiing, I believe, with the Olympic team.
Is he not in? Yes, the famous skiing slopes of Cambridgeshire.
Right, of course. So he'll be back soon. But what we're doing here is a little experiment to see how much can we ruin a podcast in one episode, and that's why I've been invited along.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad you're here, Rory.
Thank you very much.
So this episode, because we have a special guest star, has got a special guest theme to it.
That's right.
Which is, we're going to basically try and see how many movies we can reference, whilst talking about them, obviously, in, say, we'll call it 45 minutes?
45
we'll
minutes.
Give ourselves, we don't want to talk for hours and hours and hours.
We should probably get something to note down how many we've...
Yeah, okay, hang on. I'll use this piece of paper that I have right here, which is also my CV.
Yeah, you can't see it at home, but we're actually in a huge newspaper office with countless resources and people helping us out.
We'll take a picture and put it on the page, maybe
on the page. This does have a page.
You like the page.
I have liked the page.
I just tagged you in a photo on the page.
Yeah.
Look out for that photo, guys.
Oh Jesus.
So the idea is basically Rory's going to start us off with a movie. We won't say what it is yet, and then we talk about it. Obviously, spoilers for every single movie we touch on, and we're going to just see where the conversation goes and see if we can reference it or link it in some way, shape, form, whatever, to another movie, and so on and so forth.
And then halfway through, you'll realise that this has just descended into complete madness, and you'll stop listening.
And we'll stop and we'll wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Yes, of course.
But as ever, we're going to start off with the usual sort of like movie news, but we're basically just going to be talking about trailers.
A few trailers have come out in the last week.
It's the only sort of trailers.
Yeah, and the biggest trailer, obviously, that's come out is Despicable Me 3. That's what everyone's talking about.
I love it.
Have you seen the first two Despicable Me movies?
I've actually seen... No. I've seen the first one.
The first one's good. The second one's better.
The second one. I heard the second one's better.
The second one is
I also
fun.
haven't seen Minions.
Oh, Minions looks like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But as long as like Steve Carell's in them, they're quite good. And the new trailer, they've got Trey Parker of South Park as the villain. Looks quite funny. But that's really it. It looks fine. But of course, other trailers, the one we're both interested in would be Spider-Man Homecoming. What do you think of that?
I'm pretty excited for it. I'm not gonna lie. I think
do you like comic book movies, Jack?
Rory, stop it. You got me.
I got you good.
I do. I have to confess, I do like comic book movies. They are my favorite thing. But yeah, I'm particularly excited for Spider-Man because I think that like for me, it made me realize that like there are so many comic book characters out there that I love that I actually sometimes forget which ones I've always loved because I'm like, oh my god, it's Iron Man, or oh my god, it's Batman, and all of a sudden I was like, by the way, here's another Spider-Man movie, and I just go, oh yeah, I like Spider-Man too.
I like Spider-Man 2 as well, the film. That's a good one.
Nice,
but
nice
but that's the point of, will this new Spider-Man movie reach up the heights of Spider-Man 2, which is the best Spider-Man movie there has been?
I don't know. I'm interested
because I think unlike Amazing Spider-Man, this movie is definitely cemented, and I think this is one. I mean, I have a lot of problems, as you know, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I have a lot of problems of movies setting up other movies. But I think it will work in this movie's favor because it's doing the same thing that all the other first Spider-Man movies have done. The problem with Amazing Spider-Man is it's just Spider-Man, and there's nothing to differ it from. But this already is got something that the movie's trying to do a different thing. It's cemented in a different universe, and therefore I think it will be kind of new and exciting.
Yeah, we don't need to see the origin of Peter Parker again and again and again. And I think that it's good that it's finished.
Yes, exactly.
I think that also the thing that I'm finding kind of interesting, and I think hopefully it will be very good. It will be very interesting, but I think that like you even starting to see it on like internet memes and stuff about Spider-Man is that like Marvel is saying like we're going to be different, there's going to be a new take on Spider-Man, it's going to be so on and so forth, and yet someone has already pointed out that Tony Stark is a very easy Uncle Ben replacement.
Sure.
And it's a twist because he's not giving him the great responsibility, great power, etc. and so on speech. It's more like good luck, kid. I'm here, but
Sure.
also a kind of an awkward dad. But
Yeah.
the point being that he is a dad sort of figure, which
Sure.
could be interesting.
And the film's directed by John Watts.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen Cop Car.
No, but actually, my dad has seen it. Somehow.
I've seen it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and my dad is not moved by movies that often, and he loved this film.
I went to see it a couple of years ago in the Edinburgh Film Festival, and just on a whim, and it is incredible.
Yeah.
It is a brilliant, brilliant film with great kid performances, a really kind of eerie kind of sense of dread and tension, and it's just a nice small movie.
Kevin Bacon is the villain.
Kevin Bacon is the villain, and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because at the time, it's when we were constantly being bombarded with EE adverts from Kevin Bacon. And it made me realise, if Kevin Bacon is getting all this money and then going on to do these small projects, I mean, I kind of sort of excused all those Kevin Bacon adverts.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
We're now going to review actually every Kevin Bacon EE advert for the next hour.
Okay, let's do it. My favourite one was the one with all the Kevin Bacons.
Oh.
And they went to the cinema together.
And
Apollo 13 Kevin Bacon forgets he's wearing in his helmet.
That's a great one. But the problem is, me and you go to the cinema a lot, and they play every single time you go to the cinema, and it's a nightmare.
They didn't play when I went to see the film that we're going to talk about later on.
Oh, they've stopped doing it. I think they've stopped
it.
But so I guess we move on to the next. That's Spider-Man cover.
Spider-Man looks good as ever. Don't judge it until you see it. But one last thing I was going to say, because you've seen Cop Car and I haven't.
Sure.
How similar a direction does the director seem to be taking Michael Keaton? Do you think, or can you tell at this point? Just because I wonder, because I mean, like, so basically, old established actor as a villain.
I mean, it all depends on the script. I can't remember who's writing the script. I think it's
actually,
John Watts.
Have you ever seen? No, it's not. Well, I think he has a writing credit on it. But have you ever seen Freaks and Geeks, the TV show?
No.
So two of the freaks from Freaks and Geeks.
Brilliant.
Are writing.
That's genius.
It's supposed to have which is quite cool because it's supposed to have a John Hughes style.
I love John Hughes. Breakfast Club is one of the best films ever made. So I'd love that. But I think I can see the comparison between Kevin Bacon and Michael Keaton. And everyone who's listening, all 7 of you listening, please watch Cop Car. It's a great film, and I think you see a lot of comparisons because Michael Keaton looks great. He looks like he's having a great time.
Has it had a UK release, Cop Car, officially?
It's on DVD.
Yeah, it's on DVD.
It's on DVD. Cool. It was released soon after.
Right. Do you want to talk about what's the trailer?
I would absolutely love to talk about The Fate of the Furious, the 8th Fast and Furious trailer, and a little backstory with me. You've not seen any of these things? I haven't
seen any of them.
I have seen all of them. I watched all of them in a weekend, and then went to see the 7th one and bawled my eyes out. I was so upset. It was very, very moving. Those movies are insane. And they become insanely great once Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson arrives. The direction of the series goes for crazy over the top, and then you get people like Jason Statham, Luke Evans, Kurt Russell, and now Charlize Theron, and Helen Mirren is going to be there, which is pretty incredible. But yeah, I mean, Fast and Furious is very up and down. You go for the best title in the world of all movies, Too Fast, Too Furious. Yeah. So therefore, the next one, Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, which is just terrible. It's all in the drift. It is all in the drift, and Drift King DK for the win. But Fate and the Furious looks so strange. I think Vin Diesel is now turned against his friends, his family, because they love family. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be pretty terrible. It's directed by the guy who did Straight Outta Compton.
Yeah, and also Boys in the Hood.
Of course. That's John Singleton.
Okay, not Boys in the Hood. Then there's
Friday. He did Friday.
Friday. Okay, there's another another film.
Ice Cube film. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I'm sure there was a film before. Maybe not Boys in the Hood. Clearly not. But like, I'm sure I can't remember. This is terrible.
I think he would have.
There
was
that period of Straight Outta Compton when he had a big film that was really successful.
Sure.
F. Gary Ross.
F. Gary Gray.
Great, damn.
Show me I love my Fate and the Furious. But Fast and the Furious 7 does have the best line in all of them, and it was one that made me like freak out in the cinema when Jason Statham is hacking away at Dwayne The Rock Johnson's computer, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson says, "I'm gonna beat you so bad you're gonna wish your mama had never opened her legs." And I went, "Jesus Christ, God. That's horrible."
He has a great one in the trailer.
Yeah.
What is it like? I'm gonna beat. What does he say? I've only seen it once.
I can't remember. I'm
gonna beat you so fast like a Sioux drum or something like that.
Yes, that's what it is. He's gonna beat him like a drum, and it's like,
what?
How can you say this in movies?
I kind of want to do what you did and watch 1 to 7, and then
you will go mad.
I'm fine with that.
Absolutely.
I once marathoned extended Lord of the Rings. Starring at 9 in the night, and it was insane. Sure,
I think the difference is Lord of the Rings are fantastic films, and the Fast and the Furious, for as much as I love them, are not. But speaking of, but I have a lot more respect for Fast and Furious than the next franchise, which the trailer for came out.
Oh, I have one more question for you,
because
you are our new guest expert. I haven't seen these movies. I do want to see them, but from what I hear, Fast and Furious 7 was incredible, and everyone loved it, and genuinely like. For a film about jumping cars out of planes, really quite emotional.
Sure.
And everyone sort of thought this has got sort of like one last ride vibes to it, and it's kind of nice. If we've gone through that, how do you think they can possibly keep a story going?
I think you're not going to be watching this next film thinking, wow, what great CGI to make Paul Walker look like he's alive.
All right, okay.
I think that was something. Fast and Furious 7 felt like genuinely it felt like a novelty of like, this is a movie about one last ride for Paul Walker, not for necessarily this team, and it won't feel the same, unfortunately. Especially, but if you have more Jason Statham, if you have more Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you can take it in a nice new direction. And as long as the action's great, because the action is great, and as long as the characters, however poorly written, are fun to be around, and they always are, then you will be at home with your family in the film, because they are your family, mi familia. You can't see this right now, but we're actually in a garage surrounded by our Lamborghinis, drinking Corona like they do in the film.
And also our Spider-Man memorabilia.
Oh, our not my Spider-Man. I have all my cop car memorabilia.
Yeah, exactly.
And then use it all.
Like the movies we're talking about.
Yeah, speaking of movies, have you seen the trailer for Transformers The Last Night?
You know what, Rory? I have seen the trailer for Transformers The Last Night. With a K.
With a
as in, not like it's not like a hangover Transformers.
The Last Night. Oh my goodness! You've just pitched my perfect film.
Okay.
Of like Transformers going like, hey, we saved the planet, but why don't we have one big night out before we head back to Cybertron? It's the name of their planet.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, and they wake up, where's Bumblebee? And then they have to get Shia LaBeouf to team up, and then, I'm so hungover.
And they have to find Bumblebee, who's on the roof of the Decepticon. Oh no, he's just a car. They can't find the car.
Or they get so drunk that they think other cars are Transformers and just start hitting them with
like,
Decepticons.
Let's fight.
Sliced up cars. Oh, and of course we want to see a Transfurious or Transformers Fast and Furious crossover, because the fifth one, Transformers The Last Night and Fate of the Furious. If you don't get that joke, it's the name of the title is Fate of the Furious because it's the 8th one, so F8 says the word fate, which is pretty amazing.
Well done.
Bravo movie, bravo.
You know how to put words together.
I could
sound like
literally
other words.
We could spend the entirety of the podcast now talking about the titles. I could spend the entirety of the podcast talking about.
I could contribute.
Oh no, but you would want me to stop.
Fair enough.
Point. So both of them have the main hero, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel, and Optimus Prime seemingly going rogue and turning against their friends. And wow, let me tell you,
double bill!
That is literally. These are the two movies that I'm going to watch back to back, and then probably kill myself. I went to see Transformers 4. I love to watch bad movies. I'm a huge fan of So Bad They're Good films. I don't think the first two Transformers are worth watching at all, but if you do want to see a So Bad It's Good movie, watch 3 and 4, because that's when they take themselves more seriously, and then it's more fun. The first two are just packed with terrible jokes. Extremely strange. There's homophobic, there's sexist and racist humor in there.
I've seen a couple.
Yes, exactly. They are horrible. And it's just painful. But when they start become more epic and have like the hour-long battles, they're so over the top and crazy that you go, oh, That's great, and that's why the fourth one, Age of Extinction, I think was the best one because it had less of that, but also was the worst one because it was 3 hours long and was terrible. So it rides a fine line. But I did cry during the fourth one. Speaking of Fast and Furious, the similarity, but the difference being I cried with laughter as Optimus Prime rode down a hill on a robot dinosaur, swinging his sword and saying, "I'll kill you all."
That kind of thing. No, I understand.
And so the next one, it's emotional stuff. It was packed on like a Saturday like opening night, and me and my friend are sitting there, and we are having to contain our laughter because there's people around, and that means
love it.
That's the scary thing is there were so many people there who were going to see the film, and that was weird. But the new one, it looks terrible, and it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
So I mean genuinely, it's going to be terrible.
In summation, yeah. If Anthony Hopkins, like, what do you? He makes a lot of rubbish, and also just again, I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but everyone should watch Westworld purely for the reminder that Anthony Hopkins is still good. He just ends up in a lot of rubbish.
He is still good. He's very good in that TV series. Have you've not completed it?
2 episodes to go.
It's pretty amazing. The finale, especially, is one of the best finales I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
But I suppose if that's all the trailers out of the way, shall we talk about our first film setting us off?
Okay, so we're going to start now. 45 minutes. How many films can we talk about?
Yep.
None of this is rehearsed. All of it is happening live before your eyes.
Well,
to us. You're listening to it recorded, but we won't edit it.
We won't edit it.
Rory,
yes.
Start us off with your first film.
My first film that I've ever seen.
Are you a time traveler?
Yes, because I just saw Star Wars Rogue One.
Rogue One.
A Star Wars Rogue One, as I believe I call it. I saw this last night.
Yeah.
Opening night.
I saw it today.
You saw it this morning. What a film.
Yeah, it is actually really, really great.
It's pretty amazing.
Fantastic when you look back on it. I love this film because it has done a thing that I have wanted movies to do for a long, long time, and I think it's something I've spoken to you about before, which is something like Star Wars has created, first of all, great characters and a great story, and also a great world. There are two major elements there that sell me on this film: the story and the characters I love, and the world that it's set in. You don't need to sell me anything other than those two things. So if there's a film, and so far all 7 of the films have revolved around a story and characters, this is the first film that has more or less been set in the world, and it's sort of on the edge of it rather than in the main story of it all. And I love that expansion and that exploration is something you haven't seen before. And I think it is true to say this film is for the fans, because it's not, I don't believe it's fair to judge it. I know you have interesting opinions about it compared to Force Awakens, because you just said it to me before, but I don't think it's one of those films that you should be in comparison to the Star Wars movies, because they're not meant to be on the same level, I don't think, quite literally in the story.
I guess my and I'll explain this, was just generally weighing it up as a film.
I'm not saying that you were wrong at all.
So I loved it. I had a great time. I loved all the characters. They were great. Really fantastic performances, I thought, from an incredibly diverse cast. Only one female character, which I thought was a bit strange, because she's a brilliant character. I did find it out halfway through thinking, oh, this is not just in their team of rebels trying to capture the plans of the Death Star. There is Mon Mothma, and that is really it. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about this, and I am not making an excuse for that, because I do believe, and as I said in the podcast before, more female characters out there definitely should be. But I wonder if it was sort of like it wasn't necessarily, I don't feel like Felicity Jones's character, Jyn Erso, was a token woman. I felt like, in a way, it made it more powerful that she was the only one there and everyone else was looking to her.
That's fair.
I do still believe that there should be more female characters in general.
It was sort of an afterthought. I realized it wasn't like because she is a fantastic character and she's very engaging, very great performance. So the film is set about this, the mission of the rebels, but not much of it is them stealing the actual plans. It's their attempt to recover information and figure out that there is a Death Star, which is a bit, which there's a bit of convoluted plot going on, but it all pretty much falls into exact place, and with all the different characters and strands going on. And once they get united in a brilliant set piece, in a kind of like bustling kind of slum city, it all just brought together, and that's the main thing that I think worked brilliantly is the action.
Yeah. And so, for example, take another film, Inception, which, if you think about it, almost does the opposite, because you begin the film with knowing everything that you're supposed to know, because it's a reverse heist movie. And yet, by the end, all the characters have peeled away, and they're on separate levels of the dream.
Sure.
And it gets down to just Leonardo DiCaprio. How do you feel about the movie Inception, the second movie on our list of movies that segue into each other?
I have more to say about Rogue One.
I know, but that's not the point. That's not the point. I'll bring you back. I'll bring you back for a Rogue One special, but I'm sorry, this is your idea.
No worries. Inception used to be my favorite film. And then I realized that there were other movies. I think we all went through that stage.
Yeah. I mean, I was a wee bit more older than you when it came out, so I was more aware
for those who can't see at home,
22.
He's 70 years old.
But
I'm
with
a
the horror
young whippersnapper of 17, and I'm ready to see that. See, that's closer to my age, because I am a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, you are.
I'm bouncing my football, and come on, Gramps, catch up.
And I'm like, oh, great, okay, Marvel movies are still relevant.
Yeah. Oh boy, what was it like seeing the Captain America serials of the 40s?
You young scamp.
They did it wrong back then, Captain America. Anyway, Inception's a great film. It's a good action heist film, a thriller. With a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, the characters feel off in a way. I think, especially in Inception, on reflection of it, not so much in The Dark Knight or something, but the characters feel like exposition mobiles, or there to fulfill a certain moment later. For a dramatic kind of and I feel that a lot with Interstellar.
Yeah.
Where
Interstellar
Matthew Mahogany is pretty much the only character in the film. And I think Christopher Nolan has that problem, but the best thing about Inception is how original it is.
Yeah.
And how intelligent I think the script is in terms of not dumbing anything down, egging the audience to kind of catch up, and it's a great watch. Yeah. And it kind of rushes along, really inventive stuff. But for a while, that used to be my favorite movie, alongside a movie which now is no longer my favorite movie as well, called Back to the Future.
Oh, Back to the Future.
Jack, what do you think of Back to the Future?
I think Back to the Future is actually a fantastic movie.
Absolutely.
I don't know how many times I've seen it, but I rewatched it this summer, and I think in more recent years I've become much actually partly since I met you, much more critical about story structure and the purpose of a story and so on.
Sure.
That is one incredibly tight story.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of story writing, it is fantastic. It is just sort of, everything is sort of like, it doesn't need, there are 2 sequels, but it's not built with sequels in mind. It's built with a simple story, which is get back to the future. And within that you have a containment, and within that you have to build peril.
Yes.
And that's just perfect. And the ending of that is just one of the best examples of that, where you have like what is a 10-minute sequence where Doc Brown is trying to line up the cables, and then one cable falls out, and then another falls out, and then and it's all down to the clock, because literally the whole thing is built within a time frame that you cannot break. It's perfect.
I agree. And when I say it's no longer my favorite movie, I've just liked other movies better on rewatching. I still think it is a phenomenal film. The characters are some of the best characters ever written, and especially performed. I think everyone from Crispin Glover, Christopher Lloyd, who I saw at a Star Trek convention a month ago. I didn't go near him. I saw him from ages away, because you had to pay like $50 to get near him. But it's so snappy. It's so funny. It's such a brilliant caper. A science fiction film that is just laden with the most loving nostalgia. It's one of the only movies where I've cried with happiness at the specific moment where Martin McFly is fading away, and Marvin Berry, hey Chuck, it's your cousin Marvin Berry. That was the worst joke in the film, and it's still amazing.
It's great.
But they're singing Earth Angel, and he's fading away, and then George McFly gets up, punches the guy who's dancing with Lorraine in the face, and starts dancing, and then he kisses her just as the orchestra swells up, and they go, Earth Angel, and I cried.
It's wonderful.
It was brilliant. That's one of the only movies I've cried with happiness at a moment, and the other one is at the ending of the film Labyrinth.
Oh, okay.
The David
you
Bowie,
have a
Jim Henson
segue to what I was going to do, but continue, please. This
Labyrinth.
is the rules. This is the rules.
These are the rules. We don't make them.
Labyrinth.
Labyrinth is the movies. David Bowie is the Goblin King.
Yes.
Jim Henson, Creature Shop, directed, starring film.
Of course.
What do you think of Labyrinth?
Labyrinth. I have a confession to make, Rory.
Have you not seen Labyrinth?
I haven't seen Labyrinth, which is kind of upsetting because I have seen a lot of films and I do read a lot of comic books, despite the fact that most of the films you've mentioned today I haven't seen.
Yes.
But there are a lot of films out there. Another film that I haven't seen.
Oh, no! What did you talk about?
no, is I can't think of it right now. Oh, Dumb and Dumber. Have you seen Dumb and Dumber?
No!
Why not? Dumb and Dumber is a great film.
But I haven't seen Dumb or Dumber. I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it? Oh, well, there you go. That's a film you haven't seen.
Exactly.
Have you seen, because the segue I was trying to do, which is partly why we'll come back to Labyrinth because I feel this is unfair. But the segue I was trying to do was talking about Christopher Lloyd. Yes. I was going to go, have you seen Dumb and Dumber 2, When Harry Met Lloyd? The prequel movie that came out on TV only, and it's
no way TV
atrocious.
Only. I thought it was actually released in the cinemas.
No. So there was Dumb and Dumber, the original, and then there was a prequel, which does not have Jim Carrey or Jeff Daniels. Dumb and Dumber 2, When Harry Met Lloyd, and there's also a Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yes. Which is just Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah, the other one was Dumb and Dumber.
When Harry Met Lloyd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Back to Labyrinth.
Labyrinth is a great film.
I think that's a good 8. We've got 2 just now.
But you can't just throw out names of. Have you seen this? No. Labyrinth. I will. It's on Netflix. So
no, it's been on my list on Netflix for a long time.
I'll pitch it. I'll quickly pitch it to you of why it's amazing. It's a great, wonderful film. Everything is filled with love. Great songs. David Bowie dancing, dance, magic dance. You remind me of the Babe. I'll yell that line at people to make sure that they are like someone I can consider as a friend. If they then respond, what Babe? And then we'll get into the whole brilliant song. One of David Bowie's best, which was a bit weird when he died and everyone was posting on Facebook all their favorite songs, and then I posted Dance Magic Dance, but it was genuinely, it's my favorite Bowie moment.
Fair enough.
Speaking of David Bowie, have you seen the motion picture film Zoolander, where he appears as a judge for the catwalk off between Owen Wilson's character
which is just a great scene in movie history ever.
A great movie.
In a really good movie.
Yes. I didn't go see Zoolander 2.
I didn't see Zoolander 2 because you know what? It doesn't have a guest appearance by Donald J. Trump.
True, he does that. Donald Trump is in the first one. Zoolander is a great movie. Donald Trump also appears in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York, which is just Home Alone again. And I didn't realize that until I started watching it older.
You didn't realize
and I was like,
they just took out the old man with the shovel with the crazy woman with the shorts.
I realized that. And that was always weird to me.
Yeah.
Joe Pesci is Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci, who's the friend? I can't remember his name. There's two birds, the Wet Bandits. It's a good movie if you haven't seen Home Alone and you're below the age of 15.
Yeah, I did prefer their second incarnation of the Sticky Bandits, where they rub themselves in sellotape and then just put their hands into charity boxes and picked up.
That's pretty hilarious.
That's quite clever.
There's a bit where Macaulay Culkin, the asshole, throws down a brick and hits Joe Pesci's friend on the head, and I'm all for like nails going into people's feet and really hot doorknobs, but that man should be dead. His skull should be broken open,
and he should be tried for at least manslaughter. Juvenile Hall. Put Macaulay Culkin in jail. That's what we're doing. That's why maybe he never came back for the sequels, because they couldn't keep the fact.
I think he didn't come back because
he could keep going despite all the obvious murder charges against them. So they start again with
I think the reason he didn't come back was more obviously drugs. So speaking of drugs, let's move on to our next film, which is of course Sicario.
Which is all about drugs and murder. That is a really, really good film. And that was one of the actually interesting fact. That was one of the first times that I think we connected over a film, in my opinion.
Probably.
Because I had just got to know you, and I had always wanted to see Sicario prior to knowing you. Yeah. And then you told me that it was a great movie, and I was like, fantastic. And I went to go see it. It was great. I came back, said it was great, and then friends.
For those who don't know, about a year ago, Jack and I met in the middle of like a bustling supermarket in in Alabama.
Yeah,
and
I dropped my orange juice.
And then I drank it. I just drank all your orange juice. You were so mad. And I said, hey, buddy, why don't you go see Sicario? And I stayed there until 3 days later after you'd seen it. You came back and said that was a great movie.
And then as soon as I said that, you were like, thanks, man. I knew you'd enjoy it. And you gave me a fresh carton of orange juice.
Yeah, which I just picked up from the... I didn't... It wasn't like one I kept for you. I just... Yeah. But you... It's the thought that counts.
Yeah. Anyway, none of that heart happens in Sicario. It's a very dark and very
dark,
film.
grim movie. I rewatched it recently and it's superb. It's a thriller that is not pretending not to be a thriller, but doesn't feel like a thriller. Like the illusion of now the movie's being tense isn't there. Everything in the movie is so natural. The performances are so perfectly realized. The camera directions and cinematography is this most smooth, kind of calm, naturalistic watching, and then that brings out, of course, all the minutiae and subtleties of the performances.
It's one of those films that nails the running tension all the way through, and like you said, it's subtle, but it is actually, if you look at it from the beginning, it is always there, because like Emily Blunt's character never knows entirely what's going on, and because she is our eyes, we ourselves never really know what's going on. And also, one of the things that's great about it is that the way it nails it is that I wasn't annoyed at that. I wasn't confused by that. There are many films where like the plot is you don't really know what's going on yet, so just go with it. And I'm like, but what is going on? I don't understand. And it was one of the few films that's been able to nail the fact of like, here's some confusion, go with it. And I'm like, yep, I'm happy to go with the confusion.
And I think it's... I agree, and you're not really sure of what the main threat is, apart from ambiguous drug people, and then by the end you realise that the big threat is the character that we spent the whole movie with, Benicio del Toro's character, and that's the twist of not just like this goes deeper than you ever imagined. It's just like the people who are the most dangerous are in this ambiguous no man's land of morality. Yeah, and that's speaking of no man's land.
Have you ever seen the Universal classic All Quiet on the Western Front?
I have seen All Quiet on the Western Front.
It's a very powerful film.
It's a very good film. Did you know that in 1930s Germany they banned that film?
I did.
I know this. I did my dissertation in 6th year at school on films in the Weimar Republic. And one of the things is there was a culture war, basically, and for films, and they wanted to cut lots of things out. There was films that were being imported, like All Quiet on the Western Front, which is an American film, and then there would be the ones they'd export, like the big art pieces, like Metropolis.
Was it banned in Weimar Germany, or once the Nazis and the authoritarian government?
Nope.
Not necessarily Nazis, but the
Weimar, because the right wing people wanted it. The left wing critics praised it, but mainly just because of plot and like themes of like peace. Like there was never really any like actual film criticism going on back then. But
because I did that period of history as well, and especially the film, and that the 1920s in Germany were like a golden era for movie making and so on.
Well, you'd think that with expressionism, and the ones I focused on of those type movies was like Fritz Lang's Metropolis and M.
Yep.
Which isn't. Have you seen M?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, let's do just to add it to the list. How did you like M? The child murder film.
The child murder. No, I'm thinking of a different film.
Okay, well, M is a great film. It's a talk. No worries. It's one of the first like sound films, 1931, for that time of that. It's a movie about a child murderer and the society just going absolutely mad trying to catch him. So incredibly sinister, very, very creepy, but a very effective film. But films like those and Metropolis were ones made for export only, basically, to go look at how good. Most of the films in Weimar Germany in the 20s were melodramas, cheap detective thrillers, star vehicles, stuff like that, and like just of like this action star, which is quite nice. Thinking that people complain about movies were so much better then. We only remember the good ones, and all the way back in the 1920s, you know, they were making stuff like Two Guns, starring Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Denzel Washington. They were making those type of...
We just don't know about them.
Yeah, exactly, because you forget them.
Have you ever seen, or seen bits of, because I don't think I've seen all of it, but bits of Joseph Goebbels' Titanic movie?
Oh, I have not.
Yeah, so there was he tried to make a Titanic movie, which would be a piece of Nazi propaganda.
Yes.
And I think it ran into a lot of troubles, not least because how do you turn a sinking ship story into a
true
glory for Germany propaganda, aren't we great sort of thing? And I think basically it was I could be wrong, but I believe it was supposed to be at the time one of the most expensive movies ever made. I think it came under extreme turmoil and problems and so on, not least because I think Goebbels got a bit diva-ish about it and got sucked into the movie making process when he should and neglected some of his other duties. I think there's one of those alternative takes on history. I think there is quite a good account of, was this what ruined him?
Sure.
His, that sort of thing of maybe it was this insignificant detail that everyone overlooked that actually explains this behavioral trait which meant that the war ended or the people failed and so on. That sort of take on it. And it's just sort of there are some movies out there, you're right, that are very much why have you bothered making this? Why try? What will you get lost in it? A bit like 2016's Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur.
What were they thinking?
Well,
Ben-Hur is a classic movie that we've seen at least 20 times.
Listen to me, Jack.
Okay, Rory.
Listen to me. I think being a bit harsh, because obviously what moviegoers, the youth of today, they want to go see a remake of a 60-year-old movie with none of the charm or the things that made that movie great, like amazing sets, amazing art, amazing costumes, amazing set pieces,
amount of people involved,
brilliant epic scope. They want to see it with no one they recognize except for Morgan Freeman in dreadlocks, and they want to see it with a copious amount of terrible CGI. Okay, they want to see a modern Jesus parable.
Yeah,
and that I know two people who went to see it. I'm being sarcastic, of course. I have not seen it. I know two people who went to see it because they got free tickets. They said it was pretty terrible.
Yeah,
so
it does star Jack Huston, who was also in this year's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, which is a pretty awful film. I haven't read the Seth Grahame-Smith parody books, but I think the film falls into the essential same trap that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies did, which is Seth Grahame-Smith has come up with a funny title and nothing more. He's written a book that is literally copied and pasted half of Pride and Prejudice and written a zombie apocalypse halfway through it. The two don't combine in any way, shape or form, and the whole film is unbelievably bad.
Seth Grahame-Smith also wrote Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, which is another terrible film.
I think also has Jack Huston in it.
Potentially. But interestingly, another movie which has a funny, weird title, but isn't actually terrible, was Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah, Cowboys and Aliens was a great film.
It's a great film.
And also, Sam
it's
Rockwell.
not. Wait, first, we should check that. It's not a great film.
It could be better than it was.
But it is a good film.
And it also could be a lot worse than it was.
Yes, exactly.
And it's great, and I love Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell's great.
Who is just he's a really, really cool actor.
And Daniel Craig, Harrison Ford, Sam Rockwell, Paul Dano. The movie is packed with fantastic, fun actors and fun character actors, and that you don't remember the characters but you enjoy them, and I think that's Olivia Wilde, of course, is in that film as a big space alien, I believe. She's like a god alien.
I haven't seen it in years.
I haven't seen it in years, but I should rewatch it because I did remember enjoying it, and the movie plays off, the strength is obviously the cowboy aesthetic and the aliens aesthetic, and there's a great scene where the aliens attack the Western Village, and of course they're just like, what the hell is going on? There's an alien invasion, the demons are getting us.
What is electric light?
Look at these LEDs. But Harrison Ford looks like he'd rather be asleep, which is great because he there's only a few movies where he hasn't looked like he wants to be asleep that he's done, like The Fugitive.
The Fugitive?
The Fugitive. Have you seen The Fugitive?
No, I haven't seen The Fugitive.
I didn't kill my wife.
Yeah, no, I know the premise.
Oh no, that wasn't me. Harrison Ford's actually in the room.
Oh, hey, Harrison. Get out, you lousy kids.
Well, I don't know. Oh, he's gone. Bye, Harrison. Yeah, but The Fugitive... The Fugitive, that was weird. The Fugitive is a great film. The Fugitive is, and it's a great 90s film, and there's a few movies which has an aesthetic of, wow, what a great 90s film of. This feels like you've got the strong characters, you've got the mission they're doing, usually adapted from a book or something. The Fugitive is adapted from a 50s, 4-season long TV show. So it's got plenty of material to make it a solid script, and they adapt it down perfectly. So there's so many beats, so many brilliant, tense moments, and some great catchphrases. For, you switched the samples, and you doctored your research, so you could have Provasic. That's a light. Harrison Ford came back in.
Oh, wow.
That's very nice.
It's so good that he's reliving some of his greatest moments. Have you seen the movie The Conversation?
Oh, I've not seen the movie The Conversation.
That is a wonderful film. And Harrison Ford Coppola, in between Godfather and Godfather Part 2, made a little film called The Conversation, which is brilliant, and everyone should watch it. And it does star a very creepy Harrison Ford in it.
And Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman is the lead. Harrison Ford, I should say, is in it for a very short period of time. But so the story is Gene Hackman is a surveillance operative, and he is tasked with spying on a family who live next to him. Course. And he hears things that he thinks are certain things, and whatever they are, that's for the story to tell you. But it's a real, quite a lot of Francis Ford Coppola's work, there's a lot of the drama comes from a psychological drive of morally ambiguous tasks or trying to do the good thing within a bad situation.
Sure.
And Harrison Ford comes on and is quite a scary, aggressive, not even aggressive, quietly aggressive, you will do what I tell you or listen to what I tell you or I will kill you, sort of thing. And he plays a similar part in Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, where he also has a wonderful line that everyone can remember.
Can they?
Yes.
Well, actually, Harrison Ford's coming back in, so Harrison, why don't you see the line?
I remember that it wasn't me who said it. It was another old man who sounded like this. And he said, terminate with extreme prejudice. But Harrison Ford was in that scene, and I'm going away now.
Bye, Harrison.
That wasn't Harrison Ford. I am the actor who said the original line.
That's strange. You guys just hang out in Jack's cupboard.
Yes.
Apocalypse Now is a great film.
Apocalypse Now is a great film.
I rewatched it recently as I was reading for my course, Heart of Darkness. And Apocalypse Now is a wonderful, leering, confusing descent into madness.
Yeah.
And you're so confused, and it's so long. And I like to think that by the end, it's gone so slow that the movie changes tone when we get to Kurtz, because the movie's expecting half of the audience to have left or stopped watching.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, right, for those who've stayed, look at this weird shit that you evidently are on board for. I had 2 links from your conversation one.
Okay.
They're both good, so I'll use one, which is Brian De Palma's love letter to the conversation, which is called Blowout.
Yeah.
Have you seen Blowout?
No.
It's pretty much a similar premise and to tackle the same kind of political ideas. The conversation as John Travolta is a sound mixing guy for movies, terrible horror movies, and he's out recording sound at a lake and the river in the middle of the night, and then there's a car accident where a sniper shoots a car and where a politician is in, and it crashes into the water, and he has the sound recording, and thus starts this twisty, weird thriller, and it's fantastic. It's on Netflix as well, so you'll be able to watch it. But it's a similar kind of thing. But the other movie I was gonna do a link to is you saying, of course, Harrison Ford isn't in the conversation that much.
Yeah.
A movie where Harrison Ford shouldn't have been in that much is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
No, he shouldn't. He was in it quite a lot.
Come on, how can you make that movie and not have Harrison Ford just be Sean Connery? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because Shia LaBeouf, he's fine. I don't mind Shia LaBeouf as he's young, he's charismatic. The only line I remember from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is when the officers, the secret agent officers, which is the best scene in the film, in the diner, when there's a fight. Get that grease.
Yeah.
But there's a fight where, and Shia LaBeouf is on his motorbikes, and they see the secret agent running towards him, and he goes, "Get on, Gramps!" And they drive away, and it's great. You've got. And Steven Spielberg knows how to capture that charm.
Yeah.
And it is great. And to not have him as a professor for the whole film, whereas going on the journey, going on the journey, but being like, it belongs in a museum, it's crazy. And then you see him swinging on his whip and doing Indiana Jones thing, and this is an old man.
One of the best things I saw that came out of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was a t-shirt that had a silhouette of Shia LaBeouf swinging through vines with monkeys, and in the Indiana Jones lettering underneath it just said, "What the fuck?" Which I thought was great. And also a tenuous link, but a link nonetheless. Movie t-shirts. There was one very famous movie t-shirt recently, which was in the trailer for Cloverfield, the original Cloverfield. So Cloverfield, as you'll remember, Rory, was a film that was made in great secrecy. No one really knew what it was when it was coming until the trailer launched. And one of the clues to what the film was about was one of the lead characters in the trailer for Cloverfield is wearing a t-shirt. If you Googled that t-shirt, you would find out quite a lot more about the movie. So there you go.
Wow, that's pretty great. Cloverfield, I watched it in the right way, which is not being drawn in or looking into it. I knew there was hype, Blair Witch Project type secrecy.
I just say this is something I learned after the fact.
Yes, sure. But I didn't, and I watched it in the right way of just on Netflix, and I went, what's the fuss about? It's Matt Reeves, who then went on to do Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Incredible film.
Okay.
But directed Cloverfield, and it's fine. It's obviously by default one of the better found footage movies because most of them are terrible.
I'm very fed up with found footage movies.
But it's just there's a big monster, and you're engaged with the characters enough. Characters are well set up, well constructed, and you enjoy following them. And then it ends, and you go, if I had been swept up in this hype, like Blair Witch Project, that's a mystery.
Yeah.
Or there are people who thought that was real. And as crazy as that is, that's fair enough, because the hype they did made it seem like it was real. But you watch Cloverfield, and it's like, well, this is a movie.
Yeah. The thing with the Cloverfield is that it falls into that trap of found footage of like, oh my god, how are you? Reaction shot of like, I'm fine, and then suddenly out of frame, in comes a big monster and something terrible happens in the background, which is not a new clever trick. In fact, it's a very old trick in cinema of tricking the audience into believing that the world exists only within the frame. Yeah. And so like people have done it better in Steadicam films, which I just think is like, this isn't necessarily a trick, it blends the worlds a bit more closely together. I had a link which was that Cloverfield, quite interestingly, was written by Drew Goddard, who is famous for writing The Martian.
Sure. And directing Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, Cabin in the Woods as well, which I'm interested to see what you think of.
Cabin in the Woods is a good movie. I won't say if someone said, "Hey, should I watch this?" I would go yes, because I enjoyed it for the first 3 times I watched it, and then I got bored.
Yeah, fair enough.
I got 3 watches out of that.
Yeah, it resides on a premise which, once you know it, it has a limited time.
And kind of grows thin, and it's fine. And a movie similar to that, and of course, there's a connection to Joss Whedon. And I don't want to get too much into this because a little birdie told me that you really like Joss Whedon.
What?
But the first Avengers movie, I remember that was the first movie I was like hype for.
Really?
Probably the first one I can remember getting when I was both into movies and understood that this is something I was super hyped for. I got 6 watches out of the Avengers before the first film, before it started to grow old, which is pretty good for a film.
Yeah, that's really good.
But on that point, everything that annoyed me about the film, and it was annoying, was all the Joss Whedon bits.
Right.
And the strange plotting and characters acting like themselves for not acting like themselves for the sake of a quip or just quips, funny lines. And hey, I laughed at those funny lines the first 3-4 times I watched it, so they worked. But the flaws are still there. It's just I didn't have a problem with it, or not flaws, the quirks. I just didn't find them as problems.
Well, I have differing opinions on that, as you well know, and we won't go into like a Joss Whedon off. But another link, another writer, very famous, who began on TV, very famous for doing quips in setting up quips, is Aaron Sorkin.
Can we talk about The Social Network?
We can talk about The Social Network. I was also going to go for Steve Jobs.
Sure.
So we'll go for Social Network first. How does that compare? Because there are a lot, especially in Social Network. I love The Social Network, and I also love Steve Jobs. And I meant to say, especially in Steve Jobs, there are a lot of talking to get to somewhere, which is nearly
Walk and
always
talk.
either a piece of information or a very clever witty line.
Sure, yeah.
Which is similar.
You always said that this thing happened. Well, no, I said it this way, and it's funny. And you go, oh,
or something like they're having a big argument about a product in Apple, and it builds and builds and builds, and the concluding line is, whoever said the customer was always right was, I guarantee you, a customer, which is very clever because first of all, it is funny, and second of all, it does sort of like pinpoint the nature of the argument.
Okay, well, let's talk about them as two movies because they're very comparable. I think Social Network is one of the best films made in the past, now 6 years, probably in the last decade.
It's a wonderful film. Wonderful.
It's with my top 5 films of the past 10 years. I think it's brilliant. The characters are fantastic. The writing is so on point. David Fincher is an incredible director, and it's just a fantastic story, and I can watch it over and over again. Steve Jobs I've only seen once, but I remember loving it. I loved the framing of it, set up each 40 minutes, each act, years apart, and filling in the story of Apple, because the movie isn't about the story of Apple as the movie Jobs was, starring Ashton Kutcher, which I watched the first minute of him walking along a corridor, and he's trying to act like Steve Jobs, and he looks like Quasimodo, and I burst out laughing and switched it off.
I find such a shame for that is that apparently he actually got malnutrition because he ate Steve Jobs' diet, which was mainly seeds and fruit, which of course he'd built up over a number of years to be able to tolerate, whereas Ashton Kutcher suddenly going on a diet of seeds and fruits to get into character nearly killed himself or severely hurt himself.
That movie is horrible
and such a waste of time as well for the end product.
How sad would he be when he found out Michael Fassbender was going to be playing it? Of just like,
a year later.
Well, they took their time with that movie. They delayed it and stuff.
I love that film a lot. Actually.
It's great, and it's one of Danny Boyle's best. My favorite Danny Boyle movie, or maybe it's my favorite because I was so surprised by it. And how much I liked it, and it's not talked about that much. It's 127 hours.
127 hours.
I think it's a brilliant movie. I looked at the little DVD timer and was shocked to find that there was 10 minutes of the movie left. I was so gripped.
Yeah.
It was so tense, and you go to see, I see a man cut his arm off, and it's like by that point you're like, oh yeah, he's going to cut his arm off. You're like, how is he going to get out of this? How actually fixating on this character in this terrible situation. Brilliant electric direction, use of like tension and fear, but also then to cut into bleeding into these flashbacks, building his character. It's just a gripping watch.
It is a good film. I need to watch it again. I think I've only seen it once, but it is one of those films that sort of like it takes a premise that is incredibly uncinematic and makes it cinematic, which I think, because if you think about it, one person stuck at a place where he can't move and can't talk to anyone isn't very watchable. Another sort of movie that takes a premise that isn't very cinematic would be, I can't think of one. Fuck, I had one.
A premise that isn't very cinematic.
Yeah, so
Joy.
Joy is a terrible film.
I haven't seen Joy, but I like hearing you rant about it.
Joy is a terrible film.
Oh, David O. Russell.
I don't mind David O. Russell, but Joy is a terrible film, and it is so boring. It's about a woman who invents a mop, and the worst thing about that film is that David O. Russell has this thing where he casts the same 3 people over and over again. Jennifer Lawrence, Bradley Cooper, and Robert De Niro. He gets kudos because he's the only director at the minute who can unlock the goodness of Robert De Niro. Everyone else is... Robert De Niro is terrible at the minute. Bradley Cooper, fine, he's sort of just in them. That's okay. Jennifer Lawrence, he needs to understand... Well, I mean, fair enough. Like, she's an actress. She's a good actress. She's one of the most well-paid and successful actresses, which is not an easy task. No. Not an easy job. She should be able to play whoever she wants. I don't think he realizes quite how old she is, i.e. she's not that old. Second of all, he compressed what was four women stories into one character. If the film is about, look at this, here's a female success story, we should have more films about this. Give the opportunity to 4 actresses and respect the original, because they're all based on true stories. Respect the original stories.
Absolutely. And I think that, and I agree that it's not, if the problem is there was a script with 4 female characters, and then he cut it and edited it down to 1 to get writing credit.
Because I believe that the original script, the woman who wrote the original script, has a story credit, not even a screenplay by credit.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I think, interestingly, and this is just because I just remembered it, there are 2 films coming out which are similar to that, of these kind of stories about women, and these great kind of compelling kind of overlooks ensembles. And one is called 20th Century Woman, starring Elle Fanning and Greta Gerwig, who I love.
Greta Gerwig is great.
I can't remember the name of the other one. I'm scrolling through.
What is it?
It's a similar movie called, it's something about, and it's on an ensemble cast of women, and I'm trying to remember the name of it as I'm madly scrolling through IMDb. I'm going to type in the word woman and see what comes up on IMDb.
Okay,
this is.
I'm going to go for another film completely whilst
Certain Woman.
Certain Woman.
Go see Certain Woman and 20th Century Woman. Carry on.
Okay, yeah. So, Joy, terrible film. Have you seen Three Kings?
No.
Three Kings is actually really good. Ice Cube, and also famous for one of the biggest on-set feuds between George Clooney and David Russell. The two of them hated each other within about a week of filming, and yet they have to do this movie. And I think there are talks of like George Clooney came this close to punching him, which I think says more about David Russell than it does
George
about
Clooney is a great guy.
George Clooney is a great guy. I particularly love the fact that the Coen brothers always cast him as an idiot.
And he's so brilliant at doing it.
He's so brilliant at doing it. His best idiot is Baird Whitlock, without a doubt.
You scooped that up.
I did. I saw it coming.
It's okay. I can do it. Is that in
a Heil Caesar?
Don't say Heil Caesar. Oh, this is the point where you ruin the podcast by being a bit Nazi-ish.
We've actually been recording 4 podcasts back to back.
Hail Caesar is a great film, and both George Clooney and Alden Ehrenreich.
I'm going to stop saying Reich and
Ray Fiennes are brilliant.
Tilda Swinton I loved as well.
They're all brilliant.
Tilda Swinton playing basically what is an Oscar Wilde trick of 2 characters who you can't tell the difference between, and they come back off and on screen at the same time. People get confused and give them the wrong information and the right information, and all gets mixed up. It's a simple comedy trick, and she does it so wonderfully, and also it's written perfectly.
Yeah, I'm going to ignore that we're talking about Hail Caesar. Speaking of Ice Cube, have you seen The Book of Life?
The Book of Life. The animated classic.
Film.
Producer Guillermo del Toro.
I watched it.
I have seen
about 3 hours ago.
Really?
But before this afternoon it was on my Netflix, and I finally got my Fire Stick from home because I left it, which was good because it means I wasn't distracted by watching Netflix on my TV all through exam season. For those who don't know, I'm studying my PhD to become a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm of
brain science.
Of brain science, guys. We need more brain sciencers. But I watched the book.
The Book of Life.
The Book of Life, and I loved it.
It's really good. Is it? Also, the fact that they're all puppets never gets annoying.
No, it's the best part about it. It's just, oh my goodness, this is so gorgeous. Starring Diego Luna,
which is a wonderful.
Hold up. Ron Perlman.
What have we done?
Is great, but Book of Life is a fantastic watch. It surprised me how hilarious it is. It's got great humor, great performances,
really cool pop music covers actually, which I often find to be really cheesy, but actually they really work in this.
But now Diego Luna, who's obviously plays. In the film Open Range, he plays a young guy called Bucky, which is a great Western for anyone who likes Westerns. It's a nice modern one. Feels almost a bit too much Unforgiven. It's about Kevin Costner and Robert Duvall and a couple of others who are cattle herders, and Albus Dumbledore, Michael Gambon, is a crooked guy who's taking control over a town, and they have to kind of get it back. And it's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours, but the last 40 minutes are the most fucking awesome Western shootout. Just like blast, the guy body. It's just so perfectly directed and choreographed. A strange comparison. If I was talking about Unforgiven, and of course another Dumbledore was in that movie playing a very similar role, Richard Harris. So he died, of course, and then Michael Gambon became Dumbledore. But let's talk about Unforgiven.
Unforgiven is a wonderful movie.
It's a great film. It's very sad in a very strange way. Of just, you feel like every character is just tired and done, and as Clint Eastwood says in one of his best lines, like, I've killed pretty much anything that walks or crawls on this earth, and I'm gonna kill you. And he's the most threatening, strange character he's played. Of course, written and directed by him.
Yeah.
Unforgiven is a fantastic Western.
And it's interesting because that sort of attitude of, I've done lots of terrible things, I'm going to keep doing them, is almost the exact same psychology that you find in Mark in the show Peep Show. Now, if you have watched Peep Show, it is a hilarious show where basically the main characters are incredibly self-destructive. And rather interestingly, Rory, I don't know if you noticed this, 'cause I know you're watching it at the minute.
Yes,
how far
with Stuart,
How far have you got through it?
We have got season 8 and 9 left.
So in season 9, this won't be too much of a giveaway, a character turns up who, a lot of trouble for Mark.
Yeah.
A lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Interestingly, because he's played by a man who also appears in the movie Rogue One, where he plays the Hammerhead captain who crashes his ship, spoilers, into another ship.
That shot where a Star Destroyer literally slices another Star Destroyer in half blew my fucking mind.
And it's entirely down to him. Interestingly, just as he did to Mark.
So basically,
he was making an issue of the Empire.
Oh man,
and irritating them quite a lot.
Good God, man. Rogue One was great, wasn't it?
It was great.
Rogue One had a great band of characters.
Sign of the Summer.
It had the best line in the movie, the best joke in the film came from Donnie Yen.
Yes, it did.
When they were putting bags over his head, and his character is blind, and it fucking killed me. But of course, the best moment of the film, and massive fucking spoilers, you know this, but we had a great Darth Vader scene, and it reminded me of two things. One, how much I miss James Earl Jones. Not being a terrible character like in Revenge of the Sith. No! But also, Darth Vader now makes puns. Because as he's choking Ben Mendelsohn, he's like, I hope you don't choke on your aspirations. And I expect him to go,
and he just does a little bit of skip away.
But we think that's it. We see a few more shots of him looking, and we're like, that's awesome. And then the film ends, and all of our primary characters are gone, and we're now focusing on getting those Death Star plans to Tantai 4. And all these rebels are preparing a CGI Grand Moff Tarkin, which worked pretty well.
Amazingly well.
At the very beginning, he looked like a Pixar character.
Yeah.
And
I think it was a good technique to have him as almost a recurring character, almost a main character, like a recurring character.
As much as Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, exactly. And it was because it was like, oh, that's quite cool seeing Peter Cushing again.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, oh, but he looks odd. But the more you come back to him, the more you're like, that's fine. Here's just
absolutely.
odd Peter,
I forgot
Peter
because
Cushing
it
again.
felt like a character.
Great. Yeah.
It felt like, and he worked brilliantly. He brought out the best of Krennic, Ben Mendelsohn's character.
Yeah.
Of the interactions which led to a very poetic and very awesome death scene for Krennic of just looking up and seeing the Death Star.
Yeah.
Because that was something that the film builds up dread, and then when it ends, the dread's still there.
I also enjoy that Star Wars always is one of these films that has a huge fan base, and there's a lot of like almost retroactive character development given to certain characters by fans. Particularly, I think Grand Moff Tarkin has always been seen as like he is the baddest, one of the baddest of the bad. He's very evil. He's very. But like if you rewatch A New Hope, like he is bad, obviously, but he doesn't strike me as like all-encompassing evil.
Calm, yeah.
Very calm. Whereas in this movie, we see him helping out Krennic and then obviously betraying
stabbing him in the back.
And it's just sort of like that was a wonderful character beat because it gave a point for why Grand Moff Tarkin was there, rather than just be like, let's bring him back because we can.
But what this movie is going to be remembered by, I think, beyond anything else, is that after we've had a gorgeous poetic moment with our two main characters, Diego Luna and Felicity Jones, where obviously big spoilers, I like the fact that we got to see all of our characters die, because it tested how much I did like them, and it made me realize, no, Donnie Yen, everyone died doing something to help the story progress. It wasn't a heroic sacrifice overdone. They just happened to die. Riz Ahmed transmits the Death Star plans, and a grenade flies in, and there's that moment of fuck. Oh well,
he literally completed his purpose.
Yes. And then we don't need the character anymore. Exactly. And then we had that nice moment between Maze and Chirrut. I am the Force is with me, and I am one with the Force. But what people are going to remember this movie by is the coda of Darth Vader. There's a line: Darth Vader is going to deal with the fleet, and what we think is that's just a reference how Darth Vader starts A New Hope. That's what I thought of pursuing the ship. But what happens is there's all black, and all the rebel troopers are in a line waiting up, and then you hear the breathing, and I thought it's going to end. I didn't think it was going to end. I said, wow, what if it cuts to black here? And then the lightsaber ignites, and then he fucking murders and destroys, slicing and dicing through all of those rebels. And it was like, oh, this is the best thing in the world. We've never seen Darth Vader do that.
No, ever. We've known he can. That's it again. It's the same thing. We know he can.
And it was beautiful. Just throwing a guy up to the roof, making a guy shoot him in the stomach, then slicing the guy in half. Just the way he moved was perfect. The way, like, I'm a huge nerd, so that's why it was the best thing in the world.
I loved it. I got absolute goosebumps.
It was so on point, and it was exactly what people wanted to see. Is that kind of badass nature of them just ripping through. And then we get to see the last shot of the film is a CGI Princess Leia, and it works for 80% of the shot, and then it goes, that looks weird, and then it movie ends. So it's like, fine.
Well done. It's very good.
But the point is, the last act of the movie is amazing, and you've got all these different battles and dogfights and battles going on, and it felt like, I don't know if you've ever played the game Battlefront 2.
I have.
It felt like
a game of my childhood, my friend.
Yeah, and that was the last act of this movie. It was every game mode rolled into one. You had the capture the flag, you had the just kill all the enemies, you had the space battle, and then you had the thing, if you kill enough people, you get to turn into Darth Vader and murder people. And I was like, this is
great.
Superb.
I also love, because I think you mentioned it before, it's because we'll finish soon. I think we're now talking about Rogue One.
Yes,
but it was a great film. It's one of those films where the third act feels justified, and it feels like, because the whole film was obviously building to the third act as it should be, as opposed to, and I will even admit, Marvel is very guilty of this. Third act revelation. Here is a big CGI thing. Fight it for all your stuff that you said in the first half of the movie, but it doesn't necessarily connect. It connects very loosely. Like in the arcs of the characters, it's because the entire point of the movie is to steal the Death Star plans.
Absolutely.
And in a way, Gareth Edwards is very clever because he is brutal with his characters, because that's not the point in the movie. The point is not to get to know a whole cast of new characters, because like I said before, Star Wars has always been, or like George Lucas has said, has always been about the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And I think this film in a way proved it.
Yeah.
Because it's a 2 hours 15-minute movie over a single plot point that is dealt with before
we see any people
in Star Wars
A New Hope.
A New Hope. Also, just last little thing, it's great because it's finally a redemptive motion capture robot performance for Alan Tudyk.
When was he been has he ever been a robot before?
Yes, he played Sonny in the iRobot movie.
Oh my fucking god. Oh, that's depressing.
Okay, and on that note, goodbye.